evening and welcome to the June 5th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast by FCTV on cable channel 9. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. We're missing a couple of commissioners for the moment anyway. However, we have a quorum, so we're moving forward. Just a reminder for commenting, I'll call on each of you in turn, and that all votes have to be done by roll call. So when I call your name, please state your name and your vote for the record, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the Commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply and/or may require some conditions. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. So as an applicant, you kind of want to hear a negative determination. And for the benefit of anyone waiting for a particular hearing tonight, and so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearing is expected to be continued. Number 442, Acapesket Road. First up, vote. Oh, and almost lost my manners. Thank you to Courtney for filling in for me last week. Did a great job. Pleasure. Now I have trouble. I'm going to have competition on the next vote, the next election. So vote for me. Yay. All right. First up, vote minutes, May 15th, 2024.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes.
Bird second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. Questions or comments? All right. We're voting. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have accepted the minutes of 5:15. Next up are vote minutes for 5/22/24. I'll recuse because I wasn't here.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of 5/22. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird aye.
Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous with that quorum. We have accepted the minutes of 5/22. Thank you, Kristen. Next up are requests for a continuance under an RDA. First up, Michael Smith, 4 Whittemore Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to abandon or remove existing sewage disposal system and install a new IA Title V sewage disposal system. Ms. Bergeron.
The applicant has requested a continuance until June 26th.
Bird so move.
Patton, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this RDA until 6/26. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until June 26. Next up, 63 Santuit LLC, 63 Santuit Road, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to lift an existing house in order to raise the height of the foundation. Ms. Bergeron,
The applicant has requested a continuance until June 12th.
Bird, so move.
Patton second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until 6:12. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until June 12th. Next up is a request for a continuance under a notice of intent. John and Kerry Kober, 442 Ecopesket Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a detached garage and pool. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, where is this one? Please, the applicant has requested continuance until June 26th.
Bird, so move.
Patton second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until 6:26. Questions or comments? All right, this has been continued once before, right? And not opened.
Yeah, there were a few violations on the site, so they're just working to address those prior to opening.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till 6:26. We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until June 26. Brings us to requests for determination of applicability. First up, excuse me, Gallagher Homes, 0 Chester Street, map and parcel ID is 05-003-005A-002, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a single-family dwelling and a driveway, conduct associated site grading, and install a Title V septic system. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Is this a flood zone?
The vast majority of it is.
Okay. Bird, so move.
Patton second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting on to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation.
Excuse me,
Next up.
Mr. Chairman, I'm promoting Commissioner Driscoll up. He's in.
Excellent. We'll stall for 30 seconds then.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm here
Alright.
just looking for the video.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure you could hear the whole thing.
Yep, I'm in.
All righty. Next up, Sari and Jonathan Tower, 66 Kroll Road, I assume, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to maintain a coil fiber array and conduct follow-up invasive species management. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Patton second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting on to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, I.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up has been previously continued. Brings us to the next one. Timothy Gordon, 3 Amherst Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to relocate and elevate an existing dwelling to comply with zoning and FEMA standards, construct a deck, and install dry wells. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project is only located in an AE flood zone.
Thank you. Bird so move.
Patton second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Michael O'Brien, 15 Hunt Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct an addition. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Bird so move.
Patton second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Shelby Mudari, 4 Nichols Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a roof over an existing deck. Ms. Bergeron,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird so move.
Patton second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up is our continued requests for determination of applicability. First one's been previously continued. Brings us to Eileen Meany, 30 Marshview Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to repair the existing deck, platform, and railings, and to reconstruct the stairs in accordance with state building code. Ms. Bergeron,
The applicant has requested a continuance until July 31st.
Bird so move.
Patton second.
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until 7:31. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until July 31. All right, that brings us to requests for a hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Rachel Sommer, 54 Cary Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species management and restoration. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting Tom Bunker up. And Matthew Lottenberger. Hi, Tom.
Hello,
Mr. Bunker, you're up, sir.
thank you. Is Matthew there?
He's joining right now.
Running right now, okay. Yeah, for the record, my name is Tom Bunker. We provided the surveying for this project for Wilkinson Ecological Design, and there's Matthew now. And I will start out mainly in response to the staff report. Some questions about it. We did the work think it was 9 years ago in 2015, filed a notice of intent, and got an order of conditions to construct the house that's on the property. And, lost track of it. The house was done. We never were told, so we didn't file for compliance. So you can see from the staff report, there are some things, and even when we surveyed it, Alyssa saw that we missed one set of steps from the deck. So there are some questions about the existing mitigation and how well it was done. Actually, there's the existing mitigation is down the hill from the swimming pool looks in good condition. But we will provide any other needed information of the survey variety to update the plan properly with some of that missing information. But I think I'll now, I don't know that I have to share the screen unless I could briefly share it to show a couple of things, but then I think Matthew can take over and talk about their vegetation management plan, and then we can talk about what else, what other information you might need. So basically I have the GIS, the town GIS map. What's that doing there? It's on the northwest curve of Cary Lane. And so in 2015, 2016, this house was built with a swimming pool. If you look at the old plan, it's pulled back away from the coastal bank, but that's history now. So this is the property is, Buzzards Bay, land under the ocean, coastal bank all along the shore here. And it's this area that's on a steep slope that's hard to manage the vegetation. I have the management plan here. This is with the house, the pool, top of the coastal bank all the way up here. And so this area down the slope right here is what was done subsequent to the planted subsequent to the 2015 order of conditions. And that's in fairly good condition, but we will talk with Matt. So what we can do, depending on how well this goes, we can get an order of conditions here because the old order of conditions has expired, but get this order of conditions to do the work up in this corner and then combine the two in one plan for compliance when this vegetation management is done, and then can wrap both of these orders up in one plan, and well, two separate filings or whatever for compliance. So that's where we stand now. I understand there's a little bit of some stepping stones going along here and some stepping stones along the south side, and another set of stairs from this pool deck that are not shown. So I'll take this down now, and Matthew can
Absolutely.
get screen up and talk about that.
Yeah. I'm going to share the screen as well so that I can bring up the Wilkinson plan. All right. So just to reiterate a couple of things that Tom said, there is a pretty significant mitigation area already on the property, just down the hill from the pool. This area is in good shape, and as someone who's pretty well versed with picking out native vegetation, when you're standing up on the pool here, you can pretty much see this line exactly where the mitigation was placed and then where everything else is just it's a mix. Some of it's native, some of it is, there's a good deal of porcelain berry in there, but this area here is looking great. Once you get up to the top of the hill here, the vegetation has been struggling quite a bit, and some of that is due to invasives coming in, But there's also an issue up here that seems to be from exposure to sea spray or winds, where Rachel, our client, has tried to get a number of cedar trees to grow here. She's even had them replaced more than once, and the cedars just do not survive here. We're not entirely clear why that is, because you see cedars survive in similar conditions all the time. And then going north from that a little bit, let me just verify that is north, right? Yeah, we do have some cherry trees that are in very poor condition, mostly due to the invasives, that we are recommending have some regenerative pruning done. Other than those bigger plants, and then some native shrubs in here that are heavily invaded, everything else in here is invasives, and you've got everything from porcelain berry to bittersweet. The honeysuckles are both well represented. And the area is so invaded that this whole line, the property line here, is an old stone wall. And during the summer, it's literally like a cascade of vegetation coming over the wall. It's pretty impressive almost, if it wasn't all just the worst plants. So I will, our plan is pretty simple, and I imagine somewhat standard for what you've seen from our firm before, and I'll address a couple of specific notes here. We did feel that both Sweet Fern and Carolina Rose are appropriate for this area. Carolina Rose in particular, you see all, naturally occurring all throughout this neighborhood. We will also work on the knob. And when you walk around the trails there, you see wild Carolina Rose often. The other thing that we have noticed is that trying to get larger things to grow out here doesn't seem to have worked in the past. We are going to get those cherries, try to get those healthier, and then those can provide some canopy. But for the most part, we've tried to pick out species that are going to fill out the undergrowth and the lower, smaller shrubs, because that right now is completely lacking from this area. You just have very tall, unhealthy trees and then a mass of invasive species. Let me just pull up the staff notes again. The other thing, I know Sweet Fern tends to get mowed if it's left out. The nice thing about this spot is there is a wall on one side, and then on the other side is a fence, an incredibly steep slope, and then a bunch of trees. You couldn't get a mower in here even if you wanted to. This approach that we're doing is very similar to what we did next door at 60 Carey last year. And same thing, we proposed putting Carolina Rose and Sweet Fern in areas away from the lawn so that there was no chance of them being mistaken for a weed or anything like that. In your notes, it was suggested that there be, some maintenance established. We've already kind of established a route in there along that rock wall next door. And so that would be what we would continue using, is there's a way we can get in there along the rock wall. And then let me just check the staff notes again. It's hard to nail down an exact percent invaded because there are some good native shrubs in here closer to the house, and there are some nice native trees. Putting a number on the whole area, we would say it's probably somewhere around 50%. I believe that covers the notes. There will be maintenance implemented for the life of the permit, and of course, monitoring, sort of standard. Happy to answer any specific questions you have about our plan or the existing conditions.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Jen?
Matt, how big is a 1 gallon sweet fern? Can you
Uh,
stop sharing?
1 gallon sweet fern, when you put it in, it's probably about, I would say maybe 6 inches high. And then within a year or two, they grow foot and a half.
Okay.
We have a sweet fern just outside the office here that are all the way up to 4 feet, just about. So in the right conditions, sweet ferns are very robust. They're excellent habitat, especially.
And what about in the wrong conditions?
Sorry, in the wrong conditions?
Yeah.
Well, if the sweet ferns all out here all die, we would have to be coming back to you with a change of plan to make sure
Yeah.
that we are making the
Because I've seen all of the companies put sweet fern in every possible environment.
Yeah,
You guys can. So you know why we don't particularly care for it. We just want it to survive and grow and be a nice, buffer like this area should be. Will it get out competed by your meadow mix down here?
no.
That has also been said before. Okay. And you said the area is 50% invaded?
Yeah.
And what's the square footage of the whole area, if you don't mind, Matt?
Approximately 4,350 feet.
Okay.
Right.
4,000 square feet?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The board doesn't like to see the sweet fern in mitigation. You have seen it sometimes in restoration. It is the Carolina rose and the sweet fern are over 50% of what they're actually proposing in this 4,000 square feet area. If I go to this, and you don't have, do you have any spacing in between them, Matt? What's your average spacing?
I don't have that calculated. I would have to figure that out. Syria, again, I know you've mentioned it before, but this is not mitigation, this is restoration.
Correct. So even if you're spacing them at 4 feet on center, you know what? I'll be even generous and give you 5 feet on center. You should have at least 80 shrubs in there, and you guys have, what's that, 37, 47?
66.
How many?
66.
66. Is there any way you could add a few more in there?
We feel that like 6 to 5 foot spacing is ideal in most
That's what I
conditions.
have, 5 feet spacing, and it comes up at 2,000 square feet to be 80 plants.
Right. So like 6 to 5 foot spacing, which is where we are, is we're in between those two, is what we usually recommend. If the commission feels that they would like to see more plants in there, I do not believe that would be ideal. I think you're going to see a lot more crowding in there, but if it is requested that there be more plants added, we will bring that request.
So you
to the
have
client.
5 feet of spacing between your 6-inch twig sweet fern. I'm channeling my inner Maury right now.
Yes. They're not twigs for long. We put them in small because that gets the best chance of establishment.
Mhm. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I think the
Okay.
staff
Alright.
report stands on its own. I think there should be a few more plants.
Okay. Ms. Bergeron?
The only comment I have is for Tom. Tom, I know you were kind of saying maybe waiting till this project finishes up and then doing compliance for the two at the same time. I would suggest just looking at it earlier because I think we're missing a little bit of mitigation in accordance with that old planting plan. There was sort of like a gray section, two of them on either side of the pool. So it just might be worth planting everything all at once, once the invasives are managed. But just wanted to put that out there.
Right,
Thank
yeah, I agree with that, sometime before it's done, we
Mm.
would check, and Matt and I talked about this, we would check the older mitigation, and then they could plant anything else that's required to fill it in to meet both of the orders.
Got it.
But
Perfect.
yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
One other thing I wanted to add is that we are also planting 4 trees. Those trees are going into that southern area. And then once you take the area where we're planting those smaller shrubs, you get that 5-foot spacing. Once you discount the area that's already trees or going to be trees.
All right, commissioner comments. Betsy,
Can we take the plan down, please?
Sure.
Yeah, no questions or comments. Thanks, Jamie.
Courtney,
Couple of questions. What's the methodology you're gonna employ to get rid of the invasives that are there?
For the most part, it's going to be hand removal and then cut and wipe.
Okay.
There's not really a lot of species out here that we would recommend doing low volume foliar spray for. We do have it in our protocols if we do find out that once we get to the bottom in there, there's a lot of smaller species like garlic mustard or something like that that we typically treat with that. But for the most part, we're looking at vines, and that's cut and wipe.
Okay, and then my second question, cedars exist in this kind of environment, and your client says they've repeatedly tried and they died and so forth. Has she used field-grown cedars in those areas? Because
I'm not aware of where the cedars came from. I think that's definitely an interesting consideration that perhaps the cedars grown up in the nursery conditions aren't as robust as the field grown ones.
no, they aren't. And I think in this kind of a situation, to put field-grown cedars in there that are going to do a lot better, I would think. I think it's well worth a shot because field-grown cedars love that kind of environment. I go around all over the Cape and you got field-grown cedars coming up in environments just as tough as the one you're talking about.
The client has already spent a lot of money on cedars. I realize that that's a distinction that it's a very subtle distinction we could make, but she is not interested in rolling the dice with cedars again. She's been a bit burned on that.
No, and I can appreciate that, and I don't want to get into a waste everybody's time, but I think that's something you should talk about with your client. Because
I think that's a great idea.
The survivability of those field-grown cedars in that kind of environment is going to be a lot better than just taking some nursery stuff.
Absolutely.
And, I suspect what she did is went to a nursery and got the cedars and then they died.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was before we were working on the property.
No,
so
I understand. So,
yeah.
I think you need to go back and talk to her about it. Anyway, those are all my comments.
all right. Jen, when did we go from 3 foot to 4 foot now to 5 foot spacing?
Oh, I do believe Matt said 5 to 6 foot spacing, Mr. Chairman. And we usually require 3 foot. This board usually requires 3 feet for mitigation. Typically do that. In restoration projects, we have allowed them to do larger spacing, but I do think 6 foot for planting 1 gallon sweet fern is
I
Again,
always thought
in
the
the
term
You
was.
have
area,
a twig
Yeah,
and
don't
then
interrupt,
5
please.
feet.
in the area where we'll be planting, it's 5-foot spacing.
Speaking. I thought sweet fern was always just a fill in. Where do you get 6 foot of spacing on it? All right. Kevin,
No comments, Mr. Jim. Thank you.
Ron,
Well, I just had a question about that wire fence. What is that purpose of the wire fence on the side of inside the property line?
Wire fence has been existing there. It separates the area with the pool from the overgrown area.
Well, you wouldn't need a fence if it wasn't overgrown.
Possibly.
All right.
But the wire fence is already there, though.
Yeah, no doubt. No question that it's there. Okay.
You need it for the pool anyway.
all right, anything else, Ron?
That's all. That's only.
All right. Steve,
No comments or questions. Thank you. I understand that we're going to have to get a new set of plans with steps and stepping stones and things. Is that correct?
I think, yeah, we'll, I don't think it's a big thing. We certainly will provide, let's say for details like this, we can sometimes provide a plan even after the close of the hearing, if that can happen. But we will add those other details to the plan.
Thank you.
Are they going to require additional mitigation, Tom?
On the old stuff, I don't know. I don't know yet. I didn't analyze that for compliance, but I'll look at that, and we'll locate what's remaining better, or if we need to locate it better, and then we'll determine that. We'll certainly determine that. I mean, the plan is to determine that certainly before the other planting is done, so that so Wilkinson can just plan right into do any more planting required for the compliance for the earlier order.
Is this planting going to be 5 to 6 feet on center as well?
So it's mitigation planting, so I think we'd have to.
Well, then I would want to see a plan. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm having a hard time thinking about you planting something that's this big. And then you're spacing it in 5 feet. And I get it. I get,
I totally
but
understand that. Totally understand that.
It's hard for us, like when you're.
The way that we plant by getting layers is much more effective than just planting bayberry in neat little rows. Exactly.
Oh, I understand that, but I also have seen projects where, your switchgrass just takes over everything. So, that's why I asked, will these little 1 6-inch pen size plants that you're planting survive that seed mix?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm still not happy with the quantity of plants that have been provided. Again, yes, 5 feet on center, it's saying 80 plants, you're having 63, and that's coming straight out of a program. So I do think that you need a few more plants, but we'll let the commission decide. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Is there anything in the public chat function, please?
I don't think for this one. Oh, wait a minute. No, I think that was an older chat. That's an older chat. No, we're good. Nothing in the public chat regarding this project.
Thank you. All right, so you just said you're going to let the commission decide. So for us to condition at the appropriate time to condition more plants or something? I mean, that's for us to design
Matt
the project.
can either continue and try to get closer to what we may want, or we'll condition it that you have to add an additional, 20 plus plants, or 20 plus or minus plants, Matt. I mean, it's up to you. You're the designer. do you want to try to go back, work on it and give this board, present this board something they may be a little bit more comfortable with? Or
That
do you
would
want us to
definitely
condition
be
it, which
preferable to simply conditioning more plants. Yeah.
you would want to do that?
Yes.
Okay, okay. What day, how long do you think you might
All right,
take?
hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Courtney.
Yeah, just to follow up on the cedar crisis.
Oh, don't-
One thing that's been suggested is that cedars in that kind of environment do better when they're bunched together to create a sort of a grove. So if you've got field cedars in a grove, so they're closer together, and they'll help each other, and that would also help get your plant distribution right. Anyway, you're going to be coming back to us, so I'm just throwing that out.
Thank you.
Courtney's a self-appointed cedar expert.
Well,
All right.
I'm echoing things that we heard at the Cape Codder, number one, and Maury.
All right, moving forward. Matt,
One
do you
quick
have a
question.
request for us?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one more question for Matt. Matt, do you see any hollies out in that area? Anyway, I'm trying to think of all the times I've walked out to the knob and do you have hollies on that adjacent parcels on 60?
There are hollies on 60.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. All right, Matt, do you want the 26th or the 10th of, wait a minute. The 10th of July.
I suppose if we're coming back, we might want to also get the other things on the plan. So Tom, do you have a preference?
I think we can look at that fairly quickly and
Okay, the
decide.
26th then.
Yeah,
The request of the applicant, I make a motion to continue this to the 26th.
Heard, so second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until June 26th. Any other questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until June 26th. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Matt, are you on here for any others tonight?
Nope, that's it for me.
That's it for you. Well, you have a nice evening.
You too. Take care, everyone.
Tom, you're still with us. Where did Tom just go? Oh, Tom just booted himself out.
All right, next up, Kim Swerin, 24 Edgewater Drive East, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling to construct a new single-family dwelling with attached garage, porch, and deck. Remove existing crushed stone and retaining wall. Upgrade the existing cesspool to a Title V sewage disposal system. And to install mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Brad Bertolo from JC Engineering to present his project. There we go.
Mr. Bertolo, you're up, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
I have a screen I would like to share if I'm allowed to post that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this property, again, for the record, Brad Bertolo with JC Engineering on behalf of the property owner. This property is located at 24 Edgewater Drive East, and is a fully developed, altered property. Currently contains a single-family dwelling that has a crushed stone patio area that wraps around the western side and southern side of the property with a detached shed along the southern property line, and then a crushed stone driveway out between the patio and the street. The house is serviced by a cesspool that we anticipate is roughly in this location here. All the plumbing is below the basement level, the lower level of this structure, below the slab, and is buried within the wall. So it's not visible, but it's anticipated that goes below the slab in exit somewhere in this building here. We're anticipating it roughly in this location here. The site is subject to a number of resource areas. We have a salt marsh that runs along the existing bulkhead sheet pile wall that's located in this area here. This was permitted in 2010 with a COC issued in 2012. Because of the grades, they have a small couple floodplain areas, both AE zone, AE 13, AE 12, and a coastal bank that extends up to the elevation 12 in accordance with DEP policy 92.1. We're also adjacent to the Childs River, but it's non-river front. The zone A of the salt marsh extends between the sheet pile wall and out in front of the property, this location right here. Top of coastal bank is in this location. Zone A of the coastal bank, first 50 feet. Zone B of the coastal bank, next 50 feet. So the 100 feet property, 100-foot coastal bank offset right there. The property owner would like to tear this house down and reconstruct a new single-family dwelling. On the property. The property of the house will include an attached garage. The existing cesspool that was roughly in this location will be removed, and a Title V compliant septic system consisting of a 1,500-gallon tank and distribution box and 2 500-gallon leaching chambers will be situated as far away from the resource areas as possible. It does get beyond the 100-foot of the salt marsh while still maintaining necessary setbacks off property lines and structures. The current driveway will be slightly reconfigured and will remain as a pervious crushed stone or shell driveway. The original center island that was between the patio of the existing house and the driveway just be slightly reconfigured, probably some type of landscaping to provide some greenery there. For the commission members that have not seen the property or been to the site, yes, paved street. It is a house. The house is in this location, driveway, circle driveway. This has on a slope, so it is a walkout in the back. So one would consider that the lower level is the walkout basement, and then there's an upper finished area in this roof area above. But again, very minimal vegetation out in the front of the property, crushed stone along the front. This is on the north side of the dwelling, looking east out on the coastal bank. Pretty much a grass moss area with a couple of riprap stabilized or supported slopes, and a concrete patio and deck across the back. I have a couple other pictures. This is from the other direction. This is looking north. We have sheet pile walls in this location here. We have a path that runs from the piers up to the deck in this location here. The deck's right here. Again, picture in the back. And then on the southern side of the dwelling, we have a deck walkway that runs up along the side of the house, shed in this location, and pretty much all this area is all crushed stone, not much vegetation other than some rhododendron shrubs along the fence line. All right, now going back to the proposed plan. We have demarked a limit of work in this location, shown as this black line, be a erosion control barrier, silt fence, I believe we specified straw bales in this location. The access from the driveway down to the side of the garage to the deck and underneath the deck, as well as kind of an extension from the deck towards the existing path. We are proposing a pervious patio using pervious pavers set on a bed of crushed stone. We have a detail shown on that. So stormwater runoff should infiltrate through the bricks and then infiltrate into the crushed stone, pea stone, and then crushed stone. I have about 6 to 8 inches in depth here, plus a couple inches in pea stone to help infiltrate surface water runoff. In regards to the work in this area, it was basically all being redeveloped. There's currently no native naturally vegetated conditions. So we looked at the pre and post. I have a little different view here. Kind of changed the hatch from existing to proposed, so you can kind of see where the old house sits in relationship to the new house. Concrete pad that runs along the back, the existing deck, that deck patio that's out, it's all in this area right here. So we evaluated the lot coverages, impervious versus pervious but non-vegetated, and between the first 100 feet of the salt marsh, we are actually decreasing the amount of combined area by 228 square feet. The house will slightly increase by a couple hundred square feet, and most of that is street side of the existing dwelling. And the pervious areas, which are pretty much crushed stone areas that, you know, encompass the southern portion of the property, a little bit area up here, that is decreasing by roughly 400 square feet or 400 square feet. So the math is 228 square feet in less area. There is a slight change or increase in pervious driveway area just to work with the configuration of the garage location, and that increases the square footage. I have it on the table here by about 180 square feet, and with the math in accordance with the mitigation factor would require 358 square feet. We are proposing 440 square feet as shown in this green line. This is all currently grass / moss area. We picked about elevation 10, seemed to be a good number, be consistently straight across and provide no less than the minimum required. We're about 100, not quite 100 square feet greater, but 60 and about 80 square feet greater. We feel that the impervious structures are not getting any closer to the resource area than what's there today. We meet the local regulations regarding accessory structure coverage, where it states that must not increase in that area. So we have a net decrease within that zone A. Now, we did receive the staff report early yesterday morning, and can briefly discuss that. The staff was recommending that common juniper is not utilized as part of the mitigation process. We had specified bayberry, beech plum, and common juniper, but if there's a more suitable species that they would prefer, bearberry or beach grass. Originally had sweet fern listed, but I'm not sure you guys want to go with that. But we are proposing shrubs at 3-foot spacing. It gets called for in our mitigation note here, 3 feet on center. And we do have a note to have the contractor contact the Conservation Commission if there's any issues with supply of any specific plants at the time of install, and could possibly alter or change a species that may be available at that time. The agent did state a tree was removed as part of the perk test. I don't believe it was, or at least it wasn't when I was at the property. There were a couple stumps out in front. Actually, I have that picture. There are a couple stumps that were in this location here, but we had dug in the driveway in this location and in the driveway on this spot over here. So there are a number of trees proposed to be removed, but nothing has been removed as of the date of the perk test. There is a comment that states that replacement trees are required. We have no issues with planting any trees. Coastal zone management has a number of different trees that may be suitable for this location, cedar or maple, depending on where along the coastal bank they're planted. So the property owner is amenable to planting trees, most likely in the backyard location closest to the resource areas. That'll help offset the trees that are proposed. There are three trees located in this area. The most northern, they're oak trees, is a twin tree, and I believe that one of those is pretty much dead. I don't know the survivability for the other half of that tree. The other two, I didn't look at the condition of them, but they didn't seem to be in as bad a shape as this third group of trees. And then the last item commented on by the agent is the pier. It's one of those situations where there's a pre-existing pier and not really part of the project, but the owner did just recently purchase this property in January. Staff is correct. There was an interim approval that was issued in August of '93, which was 30 years. And there's also a condition that states that if the property is ever sold for a monetary value to a different substantial monetary value, there is a 1-year limit on that. So the first sale took place in January of 2024. And depending on the COVID extension, this 30-year permit might still be active, as all permits and approvals were granted that additional, I believe it's like 462 days. So I think we're still in that time frame, but the property owner is aware that he needs to address that and has already discussed us about the next step of permitting for that aspect. So it's not something we're ignoring, but it's something that will be on, upcoming. That basically covers the project. I'll stop sharing my screen and answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Brad. Jen?
Yeah, Brad, I'm having a hard time with your statement that you said you don't think you're moving any closer to the resource areas? You are.
The impervious area. No,
No, no,
we
no,
are,
no. The deck.
yeah,
The deck
but
is
that's,
moving closer. The
oh,
pervious
get that.
patio is moving closer. Your closest point from your deck to the top of the coastal bank, and I'm talking about the wooden deck. I'm not talking about that patio. I'm talking about that wooden walkway thing. That's 16 feet. Your new deck is now 12 feet. That's 4 feet closer to the coastal bank.
Yes, I agree with you, but
Okay,
the
so
bylaws,
our regulations say you cannot move any closer than the present primary structure in a zone A to a resource area, and you're in the zone A to that salt marsh.
yeah, so the regulations state any expansion or addition of impervious surfaces must not move closer to the resource area. So that's under 10.18.7E1. So,
I know exactly what our regulations say, Brad.
oh yeah, I'm not proposing impervious areas. It's an elevated
We
deck
consider
with-
the deck to be part of the present primary structure, so you're moving close, you're moving that present primary structure closer. We have been very clear on this ruling in all of the past cases, why the chairman just started to laugh. The deck is considered part of the primary structure, therefore you're moving closer. I'm even gonna consider the walkways moving even closer. So, you'll have to redesign it. It's not gonna be able to pass that 16-foot mark.
Okay, all right, I took it as impervious surface, and it's the deck. That's why we called out for a pervious patio area so that the water can infiltrate below it. So that's how I read the bylaw.
No,
the
no, I understand.
regulations.
We're just letting you know, this is how we have interpreted it since we created that reg. I think you're gonna have to go back and look at the design. Because in my world, Brad, if that's the way everybody interpreted decks, I'd have decks cantilevering right over Eel River. Right over the river.
Yep.
But yes, that is the way we have interpreted and enforced that regulation. And so that's gonna have to be looked at. Unless
All right,
unless you can convince the board, which I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think you're gonna be able to do.
Yep.
So that said, we'll have to look at that. And once you look at that, then we can look at possibly saving some of the trees that are being required to come down in the backyard. So maybe once you redesign that area, we can save a couple of those trees that's been proposing to be on. What are you doing for roof runoff and everything like that? You don't have any drywalls on the plan?
We can add dry wells. That's not an issue.
Okay,
definitely-
I mean, do they have like an architectural yet? Or does the house call for a gutter system or?
If gutter dry wells are going to be needed, gutters are going to be needed to be installed. So that's something that will have to be done. It's typical for most houses anyway. So
Yeah,
it's a very standard condition that you see in most towns, out adding dry wells to capture roof runoff.
okay. And you're saying you're reducing the impervious surface.
No, we have an increase of impervious surface by like a couple hundred square feet,
Okay,
but a decrease in pervious unvegetated. So in that first 100 feet, so there's a net negative 228 square feet, and I spelled that out below the.
are you looking at the gravel driveway in the zone B of the coastal bank?
The gravel driveway in the zone B of the coastal bank,
Yes.
we have an increase by 179 square feet.
Okay.
So that's up at the the front of the property.
Okay. Yeah, I think the biggest issue, Brad, is the deck. Is the way you have the deck configured. We've always held the line on the present primary structure. And we do consider decks, we, consider that to be present primary structure so that when, somebody is redesigning their house and they have an existing deck, they can keep the deck in that same area.
Okay.
That's why we have that regulation. I understand the way you were coming at it, but unfortunately, that's not the way we have enforced it over the years.
Understood. Now, yeah, I did speak to the property owner about changes to the deck. He offered up reducing the depth of the deck by a couple feet, but that might be short by a couple feet from that setback, and reconfiguring that walkway. Right now, the deck is elevated. It's coming off the first floor with a walkout, and due to the grade changes, as shown, I had a platform, then stairs to a platform, then stairs down to grade. That went towards the water, then parallel with the back of the water side of the deck. We could possibly come off the, let me share my screen, please.
Oh, yeah.
So we could work at reconfiguring this location here. One option was to shrink the depth of the deck, maybe have the same square footage, maybe make it a little longer. So it's not, has still kind of a usable space. And instead of the stairway wrapping around the front like this, I might be able to come off the end and wrap around the corner right here, so that maybe that you just still have a walkway come down, and maybe wrap around this set of steps so that they can walk right underneath the end of the deck. So I might have a stairway like adjacent to the house around the corner here, and that'll eliminate the steps that's here. It'll take this patio area
out.
Walkway. I still want to maintain. I would still like to maintain the path that comes up, and maybe the new deck corner comes back here. But looking at the old plan, I think you said 16 feet or existing.
You had 16.1 from the patio corner, and you had well, I measured real quick off that wooden deck, that wooden walkway thing.
The wooden deck, yeah, I don't have a setback on there, but
and that's me being generous, giving you the wooden deck. So you'll have to clear that with the board. But
yeah.
I think it could. I think you can make it work. And we'll just have to have a redesign, and then maybe doing that, you might be able to save that tree that's under that 15 grade right there. Yep.
Yeah, might be able to save that one. Yeah, because we can look at, even if we have to push. This is kind of close. I'll take a look at. Actually, I think I have.
Yeah, it might be a little close.
Let me just back a couple pictures. That would be
Yeah,
this tree right here.
Yeah, we don't want it overhanging the new house.
That's the only problem. I think that some of the canopy would be overhanging.
Okay.
As I said, it's hard to tell, but this one appears to be that twin tree that at least one of them is not in that good shape.
Yeah. And in the future, if you could stake the septic components out in the field for the staff, that would be great.
Yeah, most of it was in the driveway. I was concerned about, getting run over.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Understand. And then also, follow up with that chapter 91, because we're going to want a local permit on it as well. So we don't have anything in our files for it.
Yeah,
but we can legitimize the dock if it's been there for a really long time. When was the license issued?
It was 93. So it was a pre-existing dock that they got the interim approval.
Yeah, issued in 93. Yeah, and we can take a look at the aerials and see how far back we can see that structure. Okay. So we can work with you to in the new homeowner to get it properly permitted before this board.
Yeah,
And then- yeah.
yeah, we figured we would go through, it
Okay.
would require probably another application.
Yeah. Sorry to get you with the moving closer, but you might,
That's, that's how I read it, impervious area, I looked at it,
No,
like I
it's-
wasn't putting roof area, I wasn't doing concrete patio.
nope, I get it. I understand. It's just the way, we've interpreted this because we didn't want to take people's deck spaces away. So it's like, okay, we have to look at it this way. And where is he? On my screen, he's in the bottom right corner, Mr. Bird. Mr. Bird made a person move the step because it was moving 1 whole foot closer to a resource area in Woods Hole. Mr. Bird made that person pull that deck and incorporate it in the deck, that step in the deck. So
Can
it
we
would
move
be moving
forward?
closer.
Yes,
Run a
please.
That bus.
So
Yes.
that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. If the commission has any comments, I'd be happy to answer.
I just had one. When you were talking about mitigation, you mentioned instead of common juniper, either beach grass or bearberry. The board usually doesn't consider those species part of mitigation. They're looking for a shrub. Some of those could certainly be implemented as more of a ground cover, like in between the shrubs at their 3 foot on center.
Yeah.
But they'll be looking for another shrub species.
All right, so three shrub species.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, commissioner comments, Courtney.
So yes, I'll agree with Jen. Moving closer gives the commission a lot of heart palpitations. And I think you guys need to go back and look at the project, because I think in addition to the focus on the deck, and I may be wrong on this, but on the south corner of that house, the new house, I believe is moving, the way it's angled, it's moving closer as well. But you know better than I. So it sounds to me like you need to sit with staff and sit with the owner and do some redesign to meet our regulations. No other comments.
Thank you. Kevin.
I wouldn't say a word, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Ron.
No comments. Thank you.
Steve.
No comments.
Betsy.
I just have one quick comment. We're not going to redesign your project tonight, but I might just suggest that you either go in person or do a Zoom meeting with Alyssa and or Jen when you think you have what you want for your redesign, but before you go to the work to actually put it on the plan, everybody's on the same page.
Sounds good.
Here, here.
We love Zoom, Brad. So anytime you want to Zoom with us, we're fine. You don't have to come in. If it's easier, that's fine.
Okay.
How long do you think it might take you to look at your project?
Unfortunately, I have a scheduling conflict on June 26th, and 1 week might not be enough time to get this done, so might have to push.
Our next
So-
meeting, we're not meeting on the 3rd of July. We're meeting the 10th and the 17th of July, and then on the 31st.
The earliest, the 10th would be,
The 10th? Okay,
is unfortunately, the 26th is a conflict with me.
no
At
worries.
the request of the applicant, I'll make a motion to continue this meeting to July 10th.
Driscoll
Third,
second.
second.
All right, so we're in a hurry to get this wrapped up. We've skipped multiple steps, but the most important one is, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until July 10th. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I, and Brad, thank you for your presentation and responses to our questions.
Thank you.
All right, it's unanimous. We've continued this until July 10th. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks for your time,
Thank you.
consideration.
Night, Brad.
Good night.
Just caution everyone listening that it's going to be a really long night if every hearing goes like the last couple. So let's see if we can move things along a little better. Next up, Christine Sullivan, 11 Lakeway, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species management and restoration. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Mike Borselli. Mike I see Teresa, is she getting promoted as well?
Please,
Is there anybody else?
not to my knowledge.
Okay.
And Jen, can we hear them both at the same time, or do they have to be heard separately?
I mean, you can open them both at the same time and then they can just go right through them and then just close them separately and we'll vote them separately. It's really up to you.
Well, I just seems like it's going to be a lot of repetition, but so for the record, we're going to open 21 Lakeway at the same time. We'll see how that flies. So that'll be Christine Sullivan, 21 Lakeway, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species management and restoration. And then we will vote to close them separately. So hopefully procedurally that works.
That'll work.
Hopefully that makes everything simpler. Teresa?
Yes, Jen, would you promote Caitlin Camilleri from Blue Flax Design? She'll be presenting the projects for Blue Flax this evening, and I'll be here to answer any questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Caitlin.
All right, Mr. Borselli, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Mike Borselli. I represent the applicant along with Caitlin and Teresa from Blue Flax Design. With your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
I'm showing you the properties in question, number 11 and number 21 Lakeview. Number 21 is the larger house to the left. It has frontage on Sitters Pond. The wetland resources include land under a water body. There's a bordering vegetated wetland that was flagged by Blue Flax Design. Data sheets were submitted. There's a very low profile landform that is steeper than 10-to-1, and it's in a flood zone, so it's considered a coastal bank. We've delineated the top of the coastal bank. We've also delineated the no disturbance A and outer buffer zone Bs on the plan. This project is primarily an invasives management project. My plan is functioning as the plan of record for the basis of the invasives design. It shows the property lines and existing conditions, the wetland resources. The more detailed plans are prepared by Blue Flax Design. The project design specifications and protocols are by Blue Flax Design. So without further ado, I will turn it over to the folks at Blue Flax Design, and I will get out of the way, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thanks, Mike.
Great. Hi, everyone. Caitlin Camilleri with Blue Flax Design, and I will share my screen. Just share full screen. Okay, great. Can you all see this okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we have our mostly invasive species management and restoration of native plants plan for Christine Sullivan. Christine owns the property at 21 Lakeway, which is to the west, and the property at 11 Lakeway to the east. She had previously needed mitigation for this patio expansion, and in that mitigation, arrowwood viburnum were planted along the western edge of the property at 21 Lakeway and also along the northern edge. They've since grown into their full size and are incredibly leggy and kind of just overwhelming her property. It makes it very difficult for her and her family to walk around in their already kind of small yard. So she's hoping that we can relocate 13 arrowwood viburnum to other areas on her property. And those areas will be more determined when we come in and do invasive species management. But we did notice that on the northern part of her property at 21 Lakeway is a pretty open area. So we'll be proposing to move these arrowwood viburnum to this area on the northern part and also along the east part of her property. We're also proposing to remove a total of 10 invasive Norway and sycamore maples. And we're proposing to replant 8 red maples and 3 Amelanchier canadensis service berries in their place. To kind of backtrack and go back to the relocation of the arrowwood viburnum, we're proposing to replant this kind of perimeter area with low bush blueberry to replace the native vegetation biomass of this space with something that's a little more low growing and won't encroach on her lawn area. And then in this kind of northwest area of her property are native alders that were planted but have been repeatedly cut to maintain a view of her of the pond. And we're proposing to remove those alder and replace with winterberry red sprite, which is a lower growing native cultivar that we think would do really well in this kind of wet area while also maintaining a small size to help with the view corridor there. And then in her, the southern part of her property on 21 Lakeway are 6 white pines that we're proposing to remove. They're growing underneath a power line right now and are just kind of in an inappropriate spot for their size. So we're proposing to remove those white pine and replace that space with a native plant garden. The area in the center here is mostly on the property of 21 Lakeway, but it does kind of spill over into 11 Lakeway. Right now it's overwhelmed with English ivy, Norway and sycamore maple, multiflora rose, bittersweet, shrub and vine honeysuckle, and garlic mustard. So we'll do a pretty intensive invasive species management in this space and restore with native vegetation. The Phragmites management area was not highlighted in a green hatch. That was my mistake. It is up in this very northern area that's denoted by these this wetland vegetation hatch. So the Phragmites management area is in this northern part of the property. And then moving over to 11 Lakeway, just some invasive species management is proposed along the edge of vegetation that's shown on the west side of the property. And then there is a patch of Japanese knotweed up in this corner that we are hoping to get in and manage and replant with native vegetation over time. And a non-native Kwanzan cherry is proposed to be removed, as is, I think this is a barberry to its west. And the currently existing boardwalk is proposed to be removed. We reached out to the homeowner and we will be removing it, and we're going to get more information about it from the homeowner as soon as we can. And then let me pull up your staff notes. Well, actually, I have them written down here. So to just acknowledge your staff notes, we are going to remove the boardwalk as soon as possible and get more information from the homeowner on that. We will remove the switchgrass from our seed mix. And the trees on the northern part of 11 Lakeway were not noted. However, there are 3 arborvitae, which are non-native, but we can show those on our plan as existing. And we are relocating the 13 arrowwood viburnum, and I'm happy to show you exactly where they are going to go on an updated plan. And to highlight the area of Phragmites management as well. And I did want to show a few pictures. So these are the arrowwood viburnum that were planted along the edge of her property. They get big and they're just not in the right spot. They're encroaching on her lawn space. This is an area kind of to the north of 21 Lakeway where we're proposing to move a lot of those viburnum because it's just an open space right now. And in the distance, you can see that this is the area of Phragmites management that we're proposing. Just another picture of the viburnum kind of growing into her lawn space. More Phragmites on her property. And she's currently tying back some viburnum on her property. And yeah, they're just kind of flopping over. So, okay. With that, I'm happy to answer your questions and clarify anything else for you guys. Yeah, is it helpful if I stop sharing?
Please.
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. Teresa, do you want to add anything at this point?
No, the only thing I would add is that the viburnum, it's not necessarily that they're flopping into the lawn. It's just that that's a very narrow passageway between the house and where the viburnum is planted. So literally you hit your head walking through there. So the only other option is to prune them, but it means that we'll have to continuously prune, and we prefer not to prune in a mitigation area, which is why we're proposing to relocate the viburnum and plant something smaller that's not going to have to be pruned to keep it out of the walkway and make it safe for the property owners. That's my only comment.
Okay. All right, Jen, before I turn it over to you, I just want to say that we're going to consider all the commenting to be mutual between the 2 projects, even though we're going to close them separately.
Yeah, that's
fair
fine.
to say. Just so, just for the record, I guess is what I wanted to make clear.
Okay.
All right, Jen.
Only question I have, Caitlin, thank you for responding to all the staff's comments. We were, we'll look forward to seeing that revised plan. Just some more little bit of clarification on the plan for us. That would be great.
Sure.
The only other thing, the question we had was, I think it's on 11. You show that green mitigation area kind of going into 11, or the green restoration area, but it doesn't show any shrubs on 11. It just shows the seed mix. Are we not putting shrubs on 11?
Oh, I see. I think what's currently existing on 11 in that like western, is it the western kind of area of
Yes.
11?
Along the border with 21.
Okay, great. I believe there are some existing shrubs there that are non-native. There might be a variety of rhododendron that is non-native but not invasive that the homeowner enjoys. And so I think we were holding back on proposing any native shrubs in that space, but if you would like me to show a few, I can.
This is the space where the ivy is, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Alyssa.
Thank you. Just a few follow-up comments, and to what Jen was saying, we were just confused if that area was going from invasives to lawn, if there was any sort of existing matter in it. So
it.
if there becomes an opening and you can put a couple plants in, great. But if it's vegetated, that works too. Now you had said that there were 13 viburnum that you were relocating. Just to be clear, are you removing 13 and relocating all of them, or are more than 13 being removed from sort of that lawn edge?
Teresa and I went yesterday, we counted 13 from that lawn edge that we'd like to relocate.
Okay, so everyone that you remove, you're gonna put
Yes.
somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah, find a new home.
Excellent. In planting the low bush being so close to that lawn walkway, what can we do to prevent that from being mowed if the commission approves low bush? Is there some kind of edging or, little cobble border that could be put in there? Because granted, you need sort of a smaller plant with the second row of viburnum that I assume is installed.
Right. Yeah, that's a great question, great comment. I think right now it looks like the edge of the lawn is pretty cut in to the kind of like woodland edge. So it does seem like the lawn has a clear edge just from the way that it's been installed. But I can chat with Teresa and the homeowner to see if there's another solution, if we need another solution for that.
Okay, perfect.
And Alyssa, just to speak to that, it probably wouldn't be inappropriate to install some sort of low metal edging that will have just a small lip. I agree with Cece. I don't see lawnmowers moving into that area because it's a pretty, they keep that lawn area edge, that walkway, that lawn walk area pretty well edged. But I think if we were to put some metal edging along that area, it would be very clear, and lawnmowers wouldn't want to accidentally fall off that into the metal edging.
Okay, excellent. The other two notes I had is, Mike, that area where 21 and 11 share a property line, the restoration on 11 just isn't shown in green on your plan, just to be consistent, if we can update that.
Yep, I'm gonna do that. Yep.
Perfect. And when reviewing the property history, unfortunately, I cannot find a plan from the last order when the mitigation was planted. I do know from the notes at that time, they had a big problem with invasives, and I think unfortunately that just persisted. So if staff would recommend requiring monitoring reports just so we get an idea of how the progress turns out this time. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner comments. Ron, we're going to start with you.
I have no comments on this. Thank you.
All right. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well presented. I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
All right. Betsy.
My only comment is it'll be nice. It'll be nice when you sort of rearrange things there.
I agree.
Courtney.
No comments.
All right. Kevin.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman, and I think, Alyssa, if you're comfortable, we can condition the revised plan with the extra notes about where the viburnum's coming out, where it's going in, where the Phragmites is, and where the arborvitaes is on 11.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
That'd be great. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, for
All right,
number
so
21.
Either or, but we are going to do them separate.
I'm going to start with 21. For 21, I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Third, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close number 21 Lakeway. Questions or comments? We're voting to close 21. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Third, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Can't hear you, Pat. Steve.
Steve.
Sorry, Pat and I.
Thank you. It is unanimous. We have closed 21 Lakeway.
Now I'll make a motion to, for number 11, close it and take it under advisement. Number 11 Lakeway.
Pat and second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to close number 11 Lakeway. Questions or comments? We're voting to close number 11. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Ron?
Crisco, aye.
Steve?
And I.
It is unanimous. We have closed number 11 Lakeway. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you all.
Caitlin.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good
Have a
night.
great night. Appreciate it.
Who's the only one back in here? Oh, Teresa left too. Okay, perfect.
All right. Sorry, bear with me. All right, next up. Mark Bogosian, manager, 267 Clinton Ave, LLC, 267 Clinton Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct beach nourishment and maintenance. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering to present his project. Good evening, Raul.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing this application for the property owner and applicant for this beach nourishment project. If I get permission, I would like to share my screen.
Absolutely, sir.
So this notice of intent is for beach nourishment on the property commonly known as Tides Motel, which is really 267 Clinton Ave, is at the eastern shores of the mouth to the Falmouth Inner Harbor. Looking at it from the GIS or the town topography map, is right at the mouth to Falmouth Inner Harbor. Between this property and the Falmouth Inner Harbor, there is another piece of parcel owned by the town, which is a parking lot. This beach nourishment is to place some sand, approximately 380 cubic yards of sand in the area between the existing revetment in front of the motel up to the reaches of mean high water. We don't propose to place any sand below the mean high water level. And this is a project that has obtained prior orders of condition for the same activity for over a decade. The last permit with extensions was completed and performed in 2023. I believe it was last year. But given the circumstances on the shoreline, the beach keeps eroding. So the applicant and property owner wants to replenish the sand on this shorefront to enjoy the beach that they currently have. So the area is approximately a little less than 17,000 square feet. And like I mentioned before, is bounded by the existing revetment behind, or whichever way we want to call it, in front of the motel, mean high water, and then the two property lines along the sides. In all, we're probably talking about 380 cubic yards. In terms of depth over the existing beach is roughly about 4 inches in average throughout this area. So this project has been approved, like I mentioned, in the past with extensions for further beach nourishment. The property has 3 options for access to this beach area. There's an access using the side of the town parking lot. There's another access through the property's own parking lot, or there has been some common share access with the abutter to the east when they do their own beach nourishment, which they have a permit also for. When they, work together and get the nourishment at the same time, they can use the same access for both properties. In this case, at least for this year, the neighbor already did their nourishment, so I don't think this third access will be available unless they talk to that neighbor and the neighbor gives them the okay without interrupting the uses of the neighbors of the beach. So that is the project. I will say that this middle option and this first option would disturb a coastal dune, and the intent is that any disturbance of the coastal dune gets restored and replanted to pre-existing conditions. So it's fairly a similar project that I presented last year before this board for the neighboring property. So I suspect the same special conditions, and I don't remember if there was a time of year restriction, but if there was one, it will be the same applicable conditions for this one. So that's fairly the project, and if there's any questions, I'll try to answer.
Excellent. Thanks, Raul. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions. I'm comfortable permitting all 3 access points and giving the applicant a choice as long as the dunes are replanted. Raul, is it 300 cubic yards throughout the whole life of the permit, or 300 cubic yards a year, roughly?
In this one, we're asking 380, and I remember just judging back from the last one I presented last year for the abutting property, we said 300 for the life of the permit, and it was for any 1 year not to exceed 100.
Yeah.
In this case, we have 380. It is a bigger beach, so I guess however we want to break that 380.
Okay, I'll just make it in equal parts to you for you, and that'll be fine. If you need more after a storm event or anything like that, just let us know. And then time of year restriction. It doesn't quite meet the yacht club, Raul, but that 600 buffer, there are plovers across the harbor on what they call the Inner Harbor Jetty beach, the private beach across. I think it does grab your site. I'll double check, and if I need to put a time of year restriction on, I will.
Understood.
Okay, but they have historically nested over there. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Alyssa?
Just one comment, and Raul, apologies if you mentioned this. I'm just recommending to the board similar conditions as was the last permit.
Yeah.
So just notification before activity takes place, annual beach profiles with a narrative, and then a written request for additional nourishment. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments, Steve?
Alyssa just took what I was going to say, so I don't have any other comments. Thank you.
All right. Let's see.
Me?
Betsy, yes.
Short and sweet, Raul. Thank you. No questions.
Courtney?
No questions.
Okay. Neither do I. Kevin?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Ron?
I just wish they could do the work without touching the coastal dune.
There is an option.
Good luck. That's it.
Thank you. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat for this project, Mr. Chairman.
Make a motion, to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Third, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Third, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Ron?
July.
Steve?
And
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Raul.
Thank you. I've
Thank you,
got 2
Raul.
more.
All right, next up, continued request for hearing under notice of intent. First up, James McLaughlin, Town of Falmouth, 30 Thomas B. Landers Road and the adjacent roadway, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install 2 infiltration basins. This is a continued hearing that had not been open, so the quorum is all of us tonight.
And whomever is presenting this thank you, Kevin. Mr. Chairman, I am promoting Kevin McGarry up from, where are we from? Boston O'Neill to present the project. Hello, Kevin.
McGarry, you're up, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
My name is Kevin. For the record, my name is Kevin McGarry. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I'm here tonight representing the town of Falmouth on the Thomas B. Landers Stormwater Project. If it would please the commission, I'd be happy to give a extremely brief presentation. I will keep it extremely short and sweet to respect the commission's time, but obviously if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to talk about this project until the cows do in fact.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. I hate when the Zoom window appears and I can't see all my windows here. There we go. Okay. Okay, so this project is located on Thomas B. Landers Road. It's between Captain Eldridge Way, which is located right here, and River Hill Road, which is located here. The project includes work within the 100-foot buffer of bordering vegetated wetlands, as well as work within the riverfront area of the Coonamessett River, which is shown on this location map here. The resource areas were delineated by Town of Falmouth staff, and an NOI is required. I also just want to make the commission aware that this project could be considered a limited project in accordance with 310 CMR 1053 3F, because the intent of the project is to improve an inadequate drainage system associated with a roadway. So what I have up on the screen now is simply the site plan that was submitted. I've just added some color for the commission's benefit. So items in purple, those are your mean annual high water locations, with the riverfront area also being in purple here. And then I've just highlighted in green here the limits of bordering vegetated wetlands. So under existing conditions, Thomas B. the impervious areas of Thomas B. Landers Road essentially just sheet flow directly into the wetlands. There's some vegetated areas out here now, but there's really no formal stormwater treatment. This project is proposed to construct 2 stormwater infiltration basins, one here to the west that's in the location of sort of an existing dirt turnaround, and then one over here to the east in the location of an existing meadow area. This one over here to the east will also include 2 catch basins on Thomas B. Landers Road. Those will converge, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, into a water quality structure to provide some additional treatment before discharging into an infiltration basin. These infiltration basins do not have any outlet control structures in them. They're simply designed with a 1 foot, a berm that's 1 foot lower than the top of basin. So if they ever reach capacity during a severe rain event and cannot infiltrate quickly enough, they will simply overflow into the wetland area. We are currently showing some stone armoring going right down to the wetland edge, so that if that does happen in larger storm events, we won't have any erosion. This basin over here that is located in the riverfront area does not have any stormwater structures due to some depth restrictions. So this area will simply pick up any water that directly sheet flows off the roadway into the stormwater basin. Again, no outlet control structure. It's designed to have an overflow with some armoring down to the wetland edge. The stormwater pipes with the eastern basin here are designed to convey the anticipated 2070 year, the year of 2070, 25-year storm event. That's a little bit of a mouthful to say. The site will be generally restored with a New England wetland plant mix, the coastal salt tolerant grass mix, and then the basin themselves will be restored with a 50-50 combination of that salt tolerant mix, as well as the erosion control restoration mix for detention basins and moist sites. So as a result of this proposed projects, it's going to result in an improvement to the quality of the stormwater entering the wetlands, because there currently, like I said, mentioned earlier, is no formal treatment. It is our opinion that this project meets the interests of the Wetland Protection Act for protection of groundwater supply, prevention of pollution, and protection of fisheries. Briefly, just want to sort of speak to the riverfront area. So there's approximately 3,700 square feet of alteration within the riverfront area. 3,600 of that square feet is within the 0 to 100 foot, so the closest part of the riverfront area, and then 100 square feet of it, which is just a little bit associated with this basin out on the edge here, is out in the 1 to 200 foot area. We do not anticipate that this project will impact the riverfront area's capacity to provide wildlife habitat or function. We did a alternatives analysis, so we looked at 4 alternatives. Again, very quickly, the first one was to do nothing. That alternative was ruled out because to do nothing would not result in any sort of improvement to the water quality going to the wetland. The second alternative is what we have shown here, the 2 infiltration basins as designed, which is our preferred alternative. Our third alternative was to simply just do this one basin over here to the east outside of the riverfront area. We eliminated that alternative because, once again, it would improve the stormwater quality, but not as much if we do both. And then we did evaluate, instead of doing a basin here, the potential to do some sort of subsurface infiltration structure underneath the road. However, we would lose capacity because we're bounded by groundwater at the bottom. That's setting the bottom of the storage. And as a basin, we have unlimited storage up to the elevation of the road. If we were to go under the road, we'd have to get 2 to 3 feet of cover, so we would reduce storage. And again, that would result in less capacity for water quality, volume, infiltration, and treatment. So hence, our second alternative is what we selected, which is what is in front of you this evening. Very quickly, I'm just going to jump. This is our erosion and sediment control plan. Was developed to protect the wetland resources areas during construction. We have a series of silt fence and compost filter socks sort of on our down gradient side of the basins. We will equip our new catch basins with catch basin inlet protections or silt sacks. And then erosion control blanket is proposed on the steeper slopes of the basins to help them become stabilized. I'm going to pause there, and I'm obviously happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Excellent. Thanks, Kevin. Jen.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Ms. Bergeron.
No comments. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Excuse me. We'll start with Courtney.
No comments.
All right. Kevin.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Ron.
No comments. Thank you.
All right. Steve.
No comments.
All right. Betsy.
No comments. Thanks, Kevin. I'd love to see the town get this work done.
As would I.
Great presentation. Thank you. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat regarding this project, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
And I'll make a
Mr.
motion.
Chair, before the hearings close, may I just brief question? So you're, as I've heard previously, you're going to vote to close the hearing, move on to the next hearing, and then deliberate on this at the end of the meeting?
No, we deliberate next week, Kevin.
Okay, so then you guys will let us know.
Yeah, we will deliberate next week. They will, vote the project, and then we'll issue the order of conditions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
He's on a time crunch. That's why he's asking.
Got it.
We are on a little bit of a time crunch. Yes.
I'll make it a priority.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Third, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Scott.
Steve.
No.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very
Kevin?
much. In my many years, you are one of the more efficient boards and commissions I've been in front of, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you and
Thank
have a good
you.
night.
You too.
Thank you, old
sir.
man. It's
Thanks,
nice to
Kevin.
hear that experience, you know?
And a
Oh,
great
boy.
staff.
All right, next up, Town of Falmouth Marine and Environmental Services Department, Eel River Estuary, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to conduct continued aquaculture at 3 previously approved sites. Jen,
Mr. Chairman, we were waiting for a DEP number. The DEP number has been issued.
And I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
all right, does anybody want to have any questions or comments?
No.
All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Actually, just for the record, I'm going to ask, do we have any public comments?
No public comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Again, we're voting to close the hearing now that we have a DEP number. Betsy,
Glatfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
No.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. That was the best presentation tonight. All right. Next up, next one has been previously continued. The next one is Minot Yacht Club, 68 Yacht Club Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reinforce an existing stone revetment and to install a sheet pile behind it. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Raul Lizardi up from Cape and Islands Engineering to present the continued project. Hello again, Raul.
Hold
Good
on one
evening.
second. For the record, Alyssa, Kevin is not on this quorum. Okay. All right,
Correct.
now you're up.
Thank
with
you.
all-
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing this continued hearing on behalf of the applicant and property owner, the Minot Yacht Club. And just before I start sharing screens, the reason we continue this hearing to tonight is because during the initial application for the notice of intent, staff noticed some activities on the property that were not permitted through this commission or through Conservation Department. Those two main activities were a shed that was found on the property without a permit, and then some land disturbance in the form of creating a path to the shed and clearing some vegetation. The main project that we filed a notice of intent was for the installation of a sheet pile for shoreline stabilization. From that first initial hearing, there was not much concerns with that particular part of the project. So we continue to address those findings by staff on other parts of the site. And with that, I would like to start sharing my screen.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So as just mentioned, this notice of intent expanded beyond the proposed project of the sheet pile. In specific, the sheet pile installation is going to be all along the shoreline on the upland side of the revetment. However, this shed and this path to the shed and some vegetation clearing that took place at this part of the property are now being incorporated into this application. We submitted a letter in response to the initial hearing, some feedback from the Falmouth Yacht Club. They found out that this shed was purchased and installed on the property around the turn of 2012-2013. This path was cut in or installed much further than that, more recently than that. And then this clearing that took place between and underneath the edging of these shrubs and trees, it was a more recent activity. At the time that the shed was installed, the The flood zone in this location was an AE flood zone, not a velocity zone. The velocity zone was mapped at the time along the center of the driveway that goes around the property. So what the applicant is asking for the commission to allow is for this shed to remain along with the ramp that leads to the shed, which is roughly 136 square feet. In turn, the Yacht Club is willing to replant at more than 3-to-1. 3-to-1 will set an area of 408 square feet. They're proposing to mitigate at a rate of 450 square feet. If I go to the property, this is the location of the shed that we're talking about. It is located in the A zone, today's A zone based on the current Falmouth regulation. What we are proposing to do is mitigate for that at 450 square feet along this edge of the existing dune. We chose this location because this existing dune is also located within mapped habitat areas for endangered species. We have shown on the plans a line of the NHESP mapping. Whereas there is no NHESP mapping at this location, we believe mitigating for keeping the shed at this location is more beneficial for the environment and habitat. The existing path, crushed stone path with pavers, will be removed. The area will be restored with lumen seed. And then the clearing that took place around the perimeter trees will be replanted with shrubs. Staff believes and made a count of approximately 54 shrubs will be required for this area for mitigation, and approximately 73 shrubs for the restoration. So that's the intent from the applicant. If the commission is willing to accept these changes to the plan, we'll be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Raul. Jen.
Raul, I'm looking at the layer for the town. And it has this area in natural heritage, and in your application, you said, no, it didn't.
So the line, the NHESP line, we downloaded it from the state GIS.
Okay. Either way, I mentioned this last week, you're gonna have a time of year restriction because of the plovers. Because they are
Understood.
utilizing the beach, and the noise and the vibration of getting that sheep piling in could be very disruptive for them. So you will have a time of year restriction on the plovers. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Raul.
All right. Alyssa.
No comments. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. I don't know where we left off. I'm going to start with Betsy.
I have no comments.
All right. Courtney.
Nor do I.
All right. I'll go for the trifecta. Ron.
No comments. Make it a quad.
Sorry?
Oh, it's
No
not.
comments.
No comments.
Thank you. Steve.
No comments, thank you.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat regarding this project, Mr. Chairman.
Make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right. We're voting to close the hearing. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
And
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Raul.
Thank you. One more to go.
It's the Raul Lazardi show. All right. Next up, J.W. Saturnow, trustee, J.W. Saturnow Revocable Trust, 53 Charles River Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install a pool and cantilever deck. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant has requested to withdraw the application without prejudice.
All right, and I don't believe we need to vote on that. That brings us to, next up, Ciari Hubaru, trustee, Hubaru Trust, 110 Ransom Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling, install a new Title V sewage disposal system, and install mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chairman, once again, Raul Lazardi, Cape and Islands Engineering, to present his project. Long time no see, Raul.
You're
Good
up,
evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant and property owners for this project. This project has had several continuances that I actually don't know the count, but it's being continued. So I'm here covering for Mark Dibb at our office, and I will start by sharing, actually, this hearing started so quickly that I forgot to bring up my new plan. I could get a couple of seconds to get my plan.
Wow.
So I'll start sharing now.
Thank you.
So this notice of intent at 110 Ransom Road is for a complete raise and rebuild. It's an existing 3-bedroom family dwelling, and the applicant is proposing to reconstruct a 3-bedroom family dwelling. The project originally proposed to increase the number of bedrooms and install a denitrifying septic system. The project originally also increased the overall footprint of the development within the buffer zones by roughly 352 square feet. It also proposed 1,000 plus square foot of mitigation. Those parameters have changed ever since the project went back and forth before this commission and a few iterations with the project. The project today now, it's an overall reduction in footprint of development. It is not getting closer to the wetland resources. The property is surrounded by coastal bank. There are BBWs on 3 sides of the property, to the south, to the west, to the east. The coastal bank also borders the property to the south, to the east, and to the west. The BBW at the closest point is 43 feet to the existing driveway that accesses the property. It's 67 feet to the proposed house and the existing house. What the applicant has now chose to do is reduce the overall footprint of the house. Most of the reduction is taking place in buffer zone B. There is no expansion in buffer zone A, but there is now a 55 square feet reduction in buffer zone B, roughly at this location, this little triangle that I just highlighted on the plan. With that reduction of development in the buffer zone, we are not proposing the mitigation areas. The changes to the septic system is that with no increase in septic, we have a Title V septic system upgrade. It is believed that the existing cesspool is somewhere in this location on the bank. There is no evidence of the cover to grade, so we don't know exactly the location, but based on information from the owners, that's the location that they believe the cesspool is at. So if that's the case, and if it gets exposed during the excavation for the new foundations and new work, that cesspool will be abandoned or removed in accordance to Title V. So the septic system is going to be completely, the leaching field is going to be completely underneath the driveway. The septic tank is going to be in the lawn areas. And then we have a couple of dry well systems to collect roof runoff. So the improvements that we're proposing with this project now is roof runoff capture and management, and improvement on septics from a cesspool that's located on the bank to a Title V septic system upgrade. The setbacks from the septic system to the coastal banks are improved, but still they're less than the requirements by Title V. An application was filed with the Board of Health, and I believe in next week or in a couple of weeks, we have a hearing scheduled with the Board of Health for this septic system. No matter where we place a septic system, we will need a variance from the health department because no location on this property will meet a 50-foot setback to a coastal bank. The coastal bank is also, I mean, the septic system is also within 100 feet of the BVWs, so it doesn't meet that 100 feet setback to the BVW. But either way, it is an improvement over existing conditions. And as an overall reduction in footprint of development, we believe this is a better project than what was previously presented before this board that eventually reached out to this step of reduction on footprint of the house. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer.
Excellent. Thank you, Raul. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Quick, Raul, you're gonna remove that rock wall and just make a solid concrete retaining wall?
Right.
And then the limit of work, is there a note on the plan that it needs to be a chain link fence? Yep, I see it. Perfect. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Alyssa?
No comments, thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments? Courtney?
No comments. It's an improvement.
Yes, it is. Kevin?
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Ron?
Raul, you said if you found a cesspool during the construction, wouldn't you be looking for that in particular to remove it, entirely remove it, as opposed to just getting lucky and finding it during construction?
So not necessarily. We have seen in other projects, this house dates back to the 1960s. We have seen other cesspools that are down a coastal bank, and accessing that location creates more damage to the bank and to the vegetation on the bank than it is to try to abandon something that will eventually just roots will grow into it and just decommission it by nature. Once there is no flow going into it, and there will be no flow because we're completely removing the existing foundation and all the existing utilities, whatever is out there, if it's not reachable, it will just be abandoned in place.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Chairman.
Steve?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
All right. Betsy?
Just a comment. Thanks for your company and the owners and the staff for working. There were a number of issues here, and it's nice to see that they've been addressed. I mean, it'll be a nice new house. That'll be an improvement as to what's there right now.
Yes. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Yes, there's I have Anthony Sakalis. Sorry, Anthony, I knew I was gonna butcher your name, from Ahmet and Clower Law Firm, that would like to comment on this project. I'll be promoting him up as a panelist. Hello, Anthony.
Hi, good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. For the record, Anthony Tsakalos of Aman Clower. I'm an attorney at the firm. I'm here tonight on behalf of John and Judith Dowling, who are the owners of 106 Ransom Road, which directly abuts the subject property at number 110 to the east, just down the steep coastal bank. I must say that my clients are not completely opposed to this project, although they've been following it intently over the past several months. In fact, I'd say that they're delighted that the size of the house appears to be greatly reduced from what was initially proposed, and that the drainage systems now proposed have a greater storage capacity than those previously proposed. But the Dowlings have some legitimate concerns that the project might adversely impact their property, namely on account of runoff and debris going onto their property and ultimately into Oyster Pond. Some members of the commission may be aware, but John Dowling is a former president of the Oyster Pond Environmental Trust. He's on the board of directors of the trust. He shared his concerns with the current president of the trust. And I understand that the current president of the trust shares his concerns about the project. It's noteworthy for me to mention that the applicant does have a history of cutting or topping trees, which has resulted in large branches and tree trunks rolling down onto my client's property. I understand that there's a chain link fence that's going to be installed, and that's great, but there's just large tree trunks that are sitting on their property, and my clients have asked the applicant to remove them, and that's not happened. So we feel that the applicant should be obligated to remove any debris that's gone onto my client's property, and my client would be very, very happy to allow landscaping professionals or tree removal specialists onto their property to do so. Additionally, excuse me, my clients believe that the commission should consider whether the applicant has met the latest Title V standards and Board of Health regulations. I understand that there's an application request for a variance before the Board of Health right now, and that's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks or so. But the board should perhaps consider requiring a denitrification system on this project, which was initially proposed, as I understand it, and appears to be off the table now. The site, frankly, is within a nitrogen-sensitive area, and although it's great that a modern septic system is going to replace the existing cesspools, placing the septic system within 15 feet of a top of the coastal bank is a little bit close for comfort, and we strongly feel that denitrification system would be appropriate here. Also, at the most recent CONCOM hearing on the matter, I believe that the commission requested that the applicant submit a floor plan along with the revised site plan. I believe that my colleague Bob Ament was at the last hearing on this and had asked to see a floor plan. We've yet to see one. I understand that the project has reduced the number of bedrooms from 4 down to 3, which is what currently exists, but we'd still like to see a floor plan just to really get an understanding of how big the reduction is. Although I must say that we're really happy to see that the proposed structure is almost entirely within the existing structure's footprint. So in closing, I'd just like to reiterate that my clients are not opposed to the project. They really do believe, as it's been said before, that this is a great improvement over what's existing there right now, and is a great improvement over what was previously proposed, with the exception of the removal of the denitrification system. But again, the applicant, my clients would like the applicant to clean up the debris that's gone onto their property, and would ask the board to consider imposing denitrification onto this project. Thank you all.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jen, any other public questions or comments?
Doesn't appear to be any additional questions or comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Raul, do you have anything else to add?
So, yeah, I was just about to raise my hand. So, so the applicant intentionally reduced the number of bedrooms to reduce or keep the existing bedrooms that they have. But in the meantime, they also wanted to save on costs, so they eliminated the denitrifying septic system. We have no objection to the condition that is, I believe, is a typical condition. The site shall be cleaned. Any debris produced by this project or any activity for this project has to be removed from the site, properly removed. That's typical. If there's any cuttings of trees that somehow is making it out of the property and onto a neighbor's property, I think it's prudent that this applicant or the contractors rectify that situation. But for the purpose of the deny system, what we are doing, we know we are in a coastal pond overlay district. What the health department has been asking for all septic system upgrades to do is to provide an additional vertical separation between the tank and the leaching component for the purpose of any future required denitrifying septic system to be incorporated into the property or into the system. And that's what we've done with this project. We have a 1-foot drop from the tank to the D-box to accommodate any future required denite additions to the septic system. So we are anticipating, but at the moment that is not a requirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
No.
All right.
I'll make a motion then to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Last call. All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Raul.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right, Raoul.
Aye.
All right, next up, request to extend an existing order of conditions. Black Beach Harborhead Association, Black Beach Hills Road, Little Neck Bars Road, Gilbert Lane, and Drift Road, Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 25-4662. Request a 3-year extension. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend a 1-year extension. We have been extending this. We've extended this multiple times in the past. We just issued it. They did have their other order. This would bring it up to 4 years. They can ask for an additional extension. I'm just uncomfortable giving them 3 years. We may want another survey.
Agreed. All right, questions or comments? All right, what do you
I'll
think?
make a motion for a 1-year extension.
Bird second.
All right, the motion and the second on the table is to issue a 1-year extension. Any other questions or comments? We're voting on the 1-year extension. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Jen, does anybody check that their swales are being cleaned out?
We can go and double check. We have to go down there anyway, so we'll double check. We
Yeah.
periodically like glance over. They're not looking great, which is why I'm not inclined to give the 3 years and just the 1 year for right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking when I went.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell kind of what's a swale.
You're not maintaining them very well. But I will let Mr. Doyle know that we've granted the 1-year extension and they were looking for maintenance of those swales.
Excellent. Thank you. Next up, hearings under an enforcement order. First up, Judith Tucker, 49 Grassmere Drive, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted removal of vegetation from the buffer to a wetland. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting a Ken Haltenhoff, who has been communicating with the staff regarding this enforcement. Alyssa, if you're comfortable, if you would like to brief the board on your staff report, that would be good. And I have promoted Mr. Haltenhoff as a panelist. I'm not. Sir, you're going to need to unmute yourself to address the board and possibly turn on your camera if you have one. Thank you, sir.
All right, Alyssa, why don't you give us the background?
Yes, thank you. So the enforcement order before, enforcement hearing before you is for 49 Grassmere Drive. This likely extends as well into the road layout of Rydell Mount Drive, which is in the backyard area of this property. Staff was invited on the property to review some clearing that Mr. Haltenhoff has conducted on the property. He was notified by a neighbor that this is likely in conservation jurisdiction and we should be aware of the situation and kind of evaluate if the property was in compliance. Mr. Haltenhoff said he cleared some invasives and added some fill to create a flatter landscape in this backyard road layout area, which happens to fall within the 100-foot buffer to a wetland, which looks like it might have expanded a bit. Potential vernal pool, we're really not quite sure at the moment as it's not quite the right time of year to determine that. During the site visit, we explained to Mr. Haltenhoff that the removal of vegetation within this Zone A buffer to this wetland area is contrary to the regulations and would need to be restored in some capacity. We had instructed Mr. Haltenhoff to begin the process by at least first getting a survey so we can determine which property the restoration will be required on, and to try to get a square footage of what would be required, and to determine how much is actually in the Zone A versus the Zone B, the typical things we see when we're evaluating projects. Staff has continued to speak with Mr. Haltenhoff via email and letter, which have all been submitted to the board. There wasn't quite an opportunity to fully explain what our regulations consist of, what the staff's responsibilities are in this regard, sort of conservation jurisdiction versus town property. So ultimately, we're here to raise the issue with the board, acknowledge that staff believes there is a violation in this area. It would certainly be best for the commission to get eyes on the property. So, you know, continuing tonight to go out there and take a look for yourselves. If Mr. Haltenhoff will allow you to cross over his property to go look at it, would be ideal. And the staff would recommend, as we do for other violations, to get a survey, put together a restoration plan, and implement it by a date certain. And I think that covers it. Jen, would you like to add any more?
No, I think that is a concise summary.
Okay, but if you would, what's the distinction with Judith Tucker and Mr. Haltenhoff?
When advertising the property, Judith Tucker was the listed owner on the Assessing GIS database. So we wanted to advertise her name for the newspaper. We're including Mr. Haltenhoff. I believe he lives at the property. I'm not sure if he is one of the property owners. Perhaps he can elaborate a bit more on that.
All right. Mr. Haltenhoff, are you with us?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you, sir.
Can you turn your video on, please?
I'm just new to
There you
all.
are.
There you go.
Excellent.
Okay. So here I am.
Thank you.
Yeah, so to clear up one thing here, Judith Tucker is my wife, so I'm
Okay.
involved in all this. I moved to Massachusetts 4 years ago. So I don't know, can this map be brought up? This is something I submitted to the Conservation Department office this morning. And it shows the location of the property. And
Okay.
do other stuff.
We all got that.
Yep.
Oh, got
Yep.
that? Okay, you're looking at that?
Yes.
Okay, you should notice there what I call the existing path was a proposed road going through. The roadway was graded for, but was never completed. In the grading, it cut off a little branch of that area, which is now, it's called Park on this map. It is now 300 committee conservation land. So in that large conservation area, there is incredible tick activity. I'd like to just read a sign which shows, which appears at a path, the introduction or the entrance to a path on that property. It says, "Deer tick habitat. Don't let one bite change your life. Stay on the trail. Wear shoes, not sandals. Repellents recommended. Parentheses, DEET on exposed skin. Permethrin on clothing and footwear. In parentheses. After outdoor activities, check yourself, your children, and your pets for ticks. Place clothes and dryer for 20 minutes. Blah, blah, blah. This was put in place by the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension with funding from Cape Cod Healthcare. This is a serious thing. This is, since there are cases of Rocky Mountain spotted fever confirmed in Connecticut. And recently there was a case of Wasson's virus confirmed in Sharon, nearby Sharon, Massachusetts. So this danger from the debilitating and sometimes fatal diseases spread by ticks is not theoretical or not something of my imagination. I don't like them. That large area of conservation land in the middle of our community here is just full of ticks. We can't go on a walk with our dogs without collecting some of them. Could you now look at this map here? You got that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a close-up of the parcel. The other map is a small part of the record of survey, which is the governing document which establishes all these parcels of land here. And this is a kind of localized view of our property with the location of the pond there and the location of a 50-foot buffer zone. You can see it takes up about a third of our property. We've got a deeded property here of 19,400 square feet plus or minus, something like that. And between the pond and this 50-foot buffer zone, we lose about a third of that becomes worthless to us. Not only that, but if I can't store my trailer sailboat on that property, I'm gonna have to pay to put it elsewhere. So I find this taking of our land to be somewhat tyrannical and a financial hardship for me. Beyond that, the creation, as I said, the creation of tick habitat, a place of leaf litter, brush, and wooded areas creates the habitat for small mammals and the kind of animals that ticks prey on. And that will bring ticks into the area. In addition, it provides cover for coyotes, which are often walking through our property. And while I don't really mind the coyotes myself, I want to be able to see them. I don't want coyotes on our property we can't see, that are in deep cover, which has been the case. When we moved in here, we had, when there was deep brush cover, one of the fire hydrants had been so completely covered that it had been lost and forgotten by Falmouth Department of Public Works. So there was, downhill, there were rats living down there. There were woodchucks. There are all sorts of things living down there, which as a landowner, I don't want to be forced to create tick habitat on our own property. So I would ask for some relief here. This 50-foot buffer zone around this pond, it seems to me it's taking up an awful lot of our property. I would ask for a smaller buffer zone, or 10 foot would be great for me, but I don't know if that will fly. But it is, also, as I pointed out many times, it's the most useful land on our property, being relatively flat. Great place for a vegetable garden, which would certainly help with food expenses these days. So that's my case. I would like to get some relief from this.
Okay. Mr. Holnoff, would you have any objection to us coming on the property ourselves and taking a look at it?
Not at all. And I've got 100-foot tape. We can measure things off, and you can see what is there. The small localized map I prepared was done by my brother. I am a capable and experienced map maker myself. I've worked as a survey crew chief, and so I have, with his help, he actually put this map together. I have established the arc of our property down there. And the buffer zone can be easily established by measuring off the tape. You'll find, again, a corner of our house is within this buffer zone. I have no problem with anyone wanting to come and take a look and see with their own eyes. That would be great.
All right, I'm going to poll the commissioners for comments. Betsy?
Yeah, so why don't we continue this for a couple of weeks and everybody go out and take a look?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I just didn't know if anybody want to ask Mr. Hallnorf any questions tonight, before the visit, that's all, or not. So,
Yeah, I have no questions.
okay. Courtney?
I think I agree with Betsy. I think we should go out and take a look, and then that'll give us some questions to ask.
Okay. Anything preliminary, Kevin?
No questions this time, thank you.
Okay, Ron?
No questions this time. Let's hold on until after the visit.
Okay, Steve?
No questions now.
Okay. We didn't ask, everybody would raise their hand, so okay. Either way. All right. Alyssa, do you have anything else to add at this point?
Not at this point.
Okay, Jen?
Not at this point, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so Mr. Hallnorf, it sounds like what we're going to do is we're going to vote to continue this. That will allow us commissioners to take a look for ourselves, and then see what the next step is on our end. All right, I'd take a motion for the continuance.
I'd like to say thank you. It feels as if my concerns are being addressed at this point, and I appreciate that. Agent Bergeron has my telephone number. I'm available. I'm retired, available anytime to show what we've got here.
Okay. Jen, you had your hand up?
Which date would you like, Mr. Chairman? We could do the 26th of June or the 10th of July.
I mean, I would think that 26 will give us plenty of time. Betsy, you're going away, so how does
I'll
that
be
work
back.
for you?
I'll be back on the 22nd.
Okay, so let's do the 26th, and at
Okay.
least we can see where we stand then, and if we can proceed at that point or kick it down the road again. I mean, if necessary.
I'll make a motion to continue this enforcement hearing to June 26th.
Bird second.
All right. So the motion and the second on the table is to continue this until June 26th. Voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We've continued this until June 26th. Mr. Hallnorf, thank you for participating tonight.
Thank you.
All right, continued. All right, next up, vote orders of conditions. And all three exclude myself.
You can't leave.
Come on. All right, I'll play along as moderator. How about that? First up, Rosie Dunn Family Trust, 224 County Road, Falmouth, Mass.
Not find this packet. I'm gonna need some assistance here, guys, because I have my other two orders we need to vote, but I don't know where this one is.
And this is the property in Megansett.
Megansett, we had Tom Lee, who was it Tim or?
It was Tim.
Okay, Tim Santos project.
Yep, they're converting some of the existing, I think, porch space into habitable space, so actually no increase of impervious surface in those areas. But there is some from the large dry laid patio they're putting on one side of the property, kind of reconfiguring parking.
Wasn't there something with the mitigation that Tom had in little?
Yeah, it was shown on the planting plan as more clusters of shrubs as opposed to
Yeah.
the contiguous thick buffer the board typically proposes and requires. There's a little bit of fill added because they have that drive under garage, but they're going to turn that into living space, so they're adding a little bit of fill
Yeah, 'cause
there.
they're gonna put the patio on the fill.
Yep.
Yeah. So does the board want to see the cluster mitigation that's kind of in the patio area, or do you want a contiguous buffer?
I think the cluster makes more sense in that area.
Okay.
I mean, we
keep Tom's
usually
plan the way it is.
Yeah, we usually don't do it, but it's not as if it's a typical lot.
Okay, that's fine. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I know we wanted to see the architecturals because we know there was something funky going on where the driveway was. We just couldn't
the
figure it
garages,
out until we
yeah.
saw the architecturals. So that we addressed. There was some
We put
reconfiguration.
a new septic system is. I know we went out to that site a few years ago. Was that for a new septic system?
That was a previous permit.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then the only other thing that's popping into my head is the clusters throughout the patio area that he was using for mitigation. I think that's all that I had.
And I just had replacement of sweet fern.
Yeah, and replacement of sweet fern. New sweet fern.
People love sweet fern, don't they?
Oh, man.
This is what it looks like.
I know what
Just
it looks
don't
like.
get-
I know what it looks like in the field. I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird
1
second.
gallon sweet ferns right there. Spaced
Bird
5 feet
second.
apart.
All right, we have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Any other comments? All right, voting to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Fiscal eye.
Steve.
And
It is unanimous with this quorum. You have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Falmouth Yacht Club, Inc., 0 Clinton Avenue, map and parcel ID 46B-020-020-000H, Falmouth, Mass.
This was the notice of intent to fix the violation of all the trap rock that was dumped over there after that large storm event. They are capping that pre-existing revetment. And all they're doing is just capping it. The dune will come back on top of it. Just given the energy in this area, I think it's a reasonable fix. If the board doesn't want to see it and you just want to see the sand back, we can do that, but I'm not opposed to capping that revetment.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it'll be fine. The sand will either come back or it'll blow away.
The sand will probably pile up on top of it. The only thing I want to mention though is they have a swing set in the velocity zone on the beach, so we'll have them remove that within this order as well.
Okay.
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions as very extensively discussed
Well,
with
one
one
more
more
thing.
point.
Just that we're not going to close out the enforcement order until this project is completed.
Correct.
So I think if we kick the enforcement order out a couple of months. And then how far did we kick that out, Alyssa?
August. I think we said August
August
31st.
something.
Yeah, and if we have to kick it out again, we can. But I
Yeah.
do not want to close that until this is completed. And this will have to be completed by a date certain. So when do you guys want to see it completed? Within 60 days?
60 days.
Okay.
It's a nice round figure.
So I'll second the motion as discussed and discussed and discussed.
You're disgusting. All right. You have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Any other comments? All right. We're voting on issuing an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron, Steve.
And
It is unanimous. You have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Michael Tenanos, 86 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, Mass.
This project is very simple. It's just to install some mitigation for hardscape that was installed without a permit. We've determined they can keep the hardscape, so they're mitigating for it. And they would like to enclose their wind station. Easy.
All right. Any comments?
no, thank you.
All right.
I'll make a motion to issue an order. Whoop. Liz has a comment.
I just wanted to say, I think you guys wanted a date certain, probably by the end of the fall, to have all the plantings done since it was a violation they're remedying.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
End of October. Thank you, Alyssa.
So now I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions, which will include a date certain for the mitigation plans.
Bird second.
All right. Anything else? All right. We have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. We're voting to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
And
It is unanimous. You have issued an order of conditions. And that's all we have, folks.
What is your
Last motion.
t-shirt? What does your t-shirt say? You're the world's greatest what?
Papa,
Oh,
I'm not going to flash you.
Thank you.
Just
all right.
It's been a long night. What can I tell you?
I'd make a motion to adjourn, Patton.
Bird second.
Gladfelter, aye.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Driscoll, aye.
And I.
It is
Good
unanimous.
night, everybody.
We
It's
are
always lovely to
adjourned.
spend Wednesday evenings with you.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.